So I'm joined today by Mr. Michael Weber, co-owner and COO of FITE TV. Michael, how are you?
Great. Glad to be here, Morris. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you. Have you
Good to
been
see you.
busy?
Very busy. It's been a busy 5 years, and unlike some of my good close personal friends in the UK, we don't take vacation in the United States. So I've been living this 24/7. And when I started 5 years ago, I felt like I was 32. I feel like I'm 80 now. So
It's pretty full on.
it certainly is. Yes.
Yeah. But before all this, anyway, you have a storied career in television. Where did you start in television?
Well, I graduated from grad school for Masters in Sports Administration in the mid '80s,
Yeah.
and my first thing I started as an intern at WWF at the time with
Yeah.
WrestleMania 2, and I worked on WrestleMania 2, 3, 4, 5 as their director of PR, and it was a fantastic experience. It was a great way to get started. And back then, the company only had 60 employees when I started, so you sort of pretty hands-on and was able to get involved in everything. So I jumped in on both feet and learned quite a bit right off the bat.
What was it like to work with Vince McMahon?
Well, that time it was really good. I mean, I haven't really worked with them since things. And I left there in '89, so I think that when you're a year old then.
Yeah.
It was great. As a director of PR, I was in my late 20s. I had full access to him because I had essentially discussed anything we did with Hulk Hogan at the time, discussed with him because he really did a good job managing his career. So he was great, very open, very easy for me to deal with, very supportive. Traveled with him to all the shows and stuff at that time. And I don't think the accessibility is there now the way it was then, but he played on our company softball team at the time too. You got to remember back, he was a young guy once too.
Yeah.
He was only in his late 30s. I think it's like 38, 39 or so when I worked with him. So it was a little bit different back then compared to what it probably is today.
Is he as hardworking as everyone says he is?
Oh, talk about 24/7. Oh my God, yes. He always has been. I don't think it's changed. Probably more so now if that's even possible. But yeah.
Yeah. If so you worked with WWF then as it was for a while, and then you ventured to WCW. How long after WWF was that?
I actually left to get into the real schedule of my career, my resume. I left WWF to go work for somebody that you guys might have heard of named Donald Trump. There was a division called Trump Sports Entertainment, which was putting boxing events into casinos in Atlantic City. If you know your history, WrestleMania 4 and 5 was at Trump in Atlantic City. I got to know the team there, and we went started doing boxing events and pay-per-view. And I liked living in Atlantic City area. It was quite nice. I opened the Trump Taj Mahal, which is now the Hard Rock Hotel in Atlantic City. Unfortunately, they were losing a little money on that, so they closed my division down. I went into motorsports for a couple of years, doing PR for monster trucks and supercross motorcycle racing, and truck and tractor pulls at the time, which were pretty cool, big stadium events. But then I got back into the wrestling in WCW 1992, originally starting as PR and then morphing into being head of the marketing. I worked there from 92 to 99. So I got to see the coolest thing about, not the coolest thing, but one of the things about WCW is when I got there in 92, we were struggling to put a couple hundred people for a TV taping to less than 4 or 5 years later, we're putting 40,000 into the Georgia Dome, the big football stadium there. So that was a cool experience.
Were you there the night then in WCW when the DX invasion happened?
Yes, actually, it happened during the day at our office. I mean, I looked at my office when I go, "What the hell those guys doing?" And I actually had worked with a lot of those guys before, because Paul Levesque, Triple H was a wrestler of ours at WCW a year or two before that, and they came to the office and their little plastic helmets on and stuff. It was a little, we're all like, what the hell are they doing? It was a little bit of a weird situation. Yeah.
Did you find it funny, or was there some people pissed off about it?
Most of us were laughing at us, saying, "Okay, boy, these guys are really desperate for attention, I guess. We didn't look down our nose at him, don't get me wrong on that, but
Yeah.
it was just really confusing because we just never seen anything like that. But we weren't offended by it. We weren't like threatened by it, and and we thought everything was all in good fun. And it was the Nitro Raw Wars, which was very real and very interesting time, and actually something very good for wrestling because wrestling was definitely on the front burner at that time point there from the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, I don't think, as much as we'd like to see, I don't think that era will ever be touched.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. One, there was really no internet at that time. There was websites and stuff. TV consumption has changed in the last 5 years as long as my company's been in business. So, for a lot of reasons, it's actually, when it's all said and done, I mean, technology. I mean, look what we're doing now. We're doing, we're doing a face-to-face call across the pond. I saw a video from the 1964 World Fair in New York City just last night, and they were showing somebody talking on the phone and seeing the video of somebody, and they thought that was the greatest thing in the world, which it was.
Yeah.
But here now, this is what, especially now, this is all we do every day. You know, I don't know how many video calls, and hell, I even had to go out and buy one of these stupid lights so I don't sit here in the dark while I'm talking to somebody like you. So,
it needs to be like nearly a little mini production now in your house.
Yes, I can't believe I figured out how to do this. Yes.
In WCW then as well, like I had Big Vito on a couple of weeks ago, and he works with Vince Russo now on part of Vince's. Vince has got a brand now, and he's got a few former WWE, WCW guys working with him there. I met Vince a few years ago in Dublin at an autograph signing. He was there, and he was kind of telling stories about his career, and very interesting guy. What did you find him like to work with?
Well, I actually got to work with him when I was at TNA Wrestling. Had a good working relationship with them, got along well with them. But I actually first dealt with them or met with him, God, I think it was like 1992 when he was Vicious Vincent with an AM radio station call from Long Island, which you could barely hear more than 3 miles. He was doing I think he was working at a comic book store and doing a wrestling show in the evening. He would call trying to get our wrestlers on his show, and I wasn't ugly to him, but I go, your show's a little too small for our wrestlers, even at WCW at the time.
Yeah.
So this is pre him going to WWE. To his credit, he always had a love for wrestling, and he saw, he lived it and started out doing the WWE magazine, and that led into his writing of TV and then coming to the WCW. So he came to WCW probably 3-4 months after I left there.
So you were just gone.
I just left there in the summer of '99, and he came in the fall, I believe.
Yeah. I always like getting people's opinion on Vince, but like the majority of people I've been talking to, like, say he's a cool guy. I thought he was all right. I thought he was an interesting character, and I just think that he gets a lot of flack for someone that was there when the ratings were and the product was probably at its highest. Yeah,
I mean, he was there. I mean, I worked with him.
I know he was up against you guys at the time, I know as well, like on the opposition.
Yeah, you got to try things to get people's attention. But, I really got more appreciation working with TNA. We got along, and I was the head of the marketing, and he was the, head of the writing of the shows. And so we had to have a cooperative relationship, and we did. He understood what we were trying to get done, and it worked out very well.
Yeah. In terms of FITE TV, how did it come about?
So I left TNA in 2013 and 2014. I knew the FITE people, or the Flips Media at the time, and and they were building this platform because Flips actually started as the ability to take your mobile phone and casting from your mobile to your connected TV content video, and that's how the name Flips came out. But they were trying to figure out what to do with it. They're trying to build like a cable network with it, and they had some good ideas with it and everything. But I said, how about if we try to do a live sporting event, and how about wrestling? And so I consulted for a while, and the first event that was ever streamed live on this platform, then known as Flips, was the Wrestle Kingdom 9 in January of 2015. Did fairly well. Then we did a little WCW. Then we did a little Impact Wrestling. And then one thing led to another. I came on myself full time in November of 2015, and my CEO said we're going to pivot. We're going to do only combat sports on FITE. Sounds like a good idea to me. Went full time. We launched on February of 2016. So really, from the concept of the name of the company, the direction we're going to go was less than 3 months. It's actually about 2.5 months that we went from, hey, let's do something combat sports and let's call it FITE, to actually launching it. But still launched small, and we got started. Actually, probably one of the first wrestling shows ever on there, since this is a wrestling podcast primarily. It was Evolve Wrestling. That was pretty much the first wrestling shows, other than the test shows that we had done with Ring of Honor and Impact, and of course New Japan Wrestle Kingdom.
So you guys are filming pretty much all over the world now.
Yeah, we have done programming from 30 different countries. We do boxing, wrestling, MMA. We've now spread out to doing motorsports and music and marathons and soccer from South America. And so we've become much more of a full-fledged sports, digital sports network. I mean, there was a real place for us to grow there in 2016, but now with, I think it's common in Europe also, the cord cutting. You know, fewer and fewer people are consuming their sports entertainment by cable or satellite, and experiencing through apps or internet and so forth too. Now, the weird thing about when we started, this was our whole business plan: a mobile app on iPhones, Android. That was it. We didn't even have our first website till 2017.
Wow.
And it was late 2017 that we even started putting programming on Roku. And now we're on Roku, we're on Apple, we're on Amazon Fire, we're on Vizio TVs, LG TVs, Philips TVs, Samsung TVs. We're on Comcast and Cox here in the United States on their digital platforms. So we're much more broadly available around the world.
So I think when you started off with the mobile app, then you didn't think that it would obviously be this big. And the progression in technology means that you're just going to have to keep growing and growing and getting onto different ideas, different platforms and things like that.
Well, that's true. I mean, one of the things about us is we're actually a technology company first. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where we started. And what's good about that, with our engineers that are being fellow employees, we can make changes quick and just keep adding and expanding on. And the engineering team has a list of 3-4 months worth of work right now that we're working on, of upgrades that we're going to be doing to our site. So you always got, you can never be satisfied. Well, this is the best it's ever going to be, and we don't do anything more. That's just not true, especially anything that's technology oriented like this.
Yeah. And how many guys have you got working in the world?
We got 28 on the team. Most of our engineering and customer support is done out of Sofia, Bulgaria. We have 2 executives working for us out of London, UK area, who are former ITV executives. And then we got about another, I think, 7 of us here in the United States, which is mostly, let's put it this way, heavily experienced group of people here in the United States who have been doing this for a number of, not years, but decades. So, I'll take experience any day of the week.
So in terms of production, what's your favorite production moment in your career?
So one that I was most personally involved in, I felt the biggest sense of accomplishment, is really sort of weird, at least to me though, it is very early in my career. It was WrestleMania 3 in the Pontiac Silverdome, where we had 93,000 people there for that event. I ran the PR for that, ran the press box, and it still is. I've never had experience. I mean, I've done a lot of big events since then, big crowds and things that are seen around the world. That still just strikes me as amazing, because that event was so far ahead of its time at the time.
That's the event with Hogan and Andre.
Absolutely, yeah. Hogan, Andre in the ring, and celebrities like Alice Cooper there, and it was really cool event, went off, and people didn't know if we could do something like that. And who would have ever thought it was really a big momentum changer in the wrestling industry as well, and TV industry for that matter, and pay-per-view, because it also did record viewership on pay-per-view. When, gosh, I think at that time, I think it was less than 10 million households in the United States who had pay-per-view capabilities. Up to recently, it was almost 100 million now has it in the United States. It's actually a smaller number now because cable and satellite subscribers have fallen off, but that's where digital has fallen in, to fill it out. So there's still over 100 to 115 million households in the United States that can watch pay-per-view programming. But that time it was only 10 million. And God, I think we had 1 million people buy. So think about it, 10% watching it. That's a pretty big number.
Do you think there's less people buying cable because of the price of it? Because I know over here it's pretty expensive, like for Sky TV and things like that.
So different parts of the world, Mexico, India, Australia, UK, got different price sensitivities. I guess Americans are idiots because we pay a lot. Because like AEW's pay-per-view shows are $50 US in the States. We aired a boxing event 2 weeks ago that it was $75. We aired the Mike Tyson fight was $50. And, the highest we would go in the UK and Ireland area is about 20 US, which is, I think, about 18. Or I don't know if I got the.
I think it's about like 24 euros.
Yes,
about 18, 19 pounds.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's a little higher there on that, and it's it's sort of weird. In boxing, we wouldn't go that high, believe it or not, in Europe, whereas wrestling, we do seem to be able to get it a little bit. Listen, it's anything else. If somebody wants to see it, they're willing to pay the extra price. And fortunately for AEW, they have something that people want to see.
Yeah. We'll get into AEW anyway, and obviously it started off with the pay-per-view. You said the first one, the All In.
Yeah, All In, September 1st, 2018. Matter of fact, we're re-airing it now on FITE TV this week, and it's a damn good show. And you get to see how things started and where it's going and where it's come now. It's been pretty cool.
Do you find that your platform has got bigger since AEW joined?
Well, it most certainly has gotten a lot bigger. I don't know if I can give all the credit to AEW. We did this little Tyson Jones fight a couple of weeks ago, which upped our we're now up to 4 million registered users to our platform.
Yeah.
Which, don't confuse that. That's not exactly the same as subscribers like WWE.
I know, yeah.
But that's still a pretty good number that we'd like to pound our chest for. So we went from 2.8 million to 4 million in a week. So that's more geared to that boxing event. But AEW has been a very big part of what we're doing. And it's doing quite well. And right now, for the weekly show, obviously I don't have rights in the US and Canada because it's on TNT and TSN in Canada. But we have the rest of the world. Well, actually, we don't have Germany or France either. But we sure as heck have the UK and Ireland and Australia and South Africa, and Chile, believe it or not, is one of our top 10 countries.
Really?
Which surprises everybody, including myself. But because pro wrestling in general has never done well in Chile, but UK has been always been good. When I was at both at WCW and when I worked at TNA Wrestling, now known as Impact, I made tours there, and the shows always have done quite well there. There's been a great fan following in both Ireland and UK area. Yeah.
Who do you think the best wrestlers overall package guys are in AEW?
Well, it depends on how you measure things. I mean, Chris Jericho.
Maybe best is harsh. Who would be your favorites, maybe?
Well, Chris Jericho. I mean, it's fortunate. I had a chance to work with him in his early days at WCW. Worked with him quite a bit. He was a PR marketing guy's dream guy to work with, and guess what? He still is. 25 years later. But the funny thing is, I watched the show the other night, and I was like, okay, let's see. I see Sting. I've known him since '92. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, I've known them since about '88. Jake Roberts, I've known him since about '86. And then of course Jericho is like, I'm like having deja vu. I'm seeing all these guys over. AEW's doing a good job lengthening some guys' careers and their exposure, because, like, Tully, Arn, Sting, and Jake, they're all about the same age as me. I go, shit, I feel old. I wonder how they're doing it. And some of those guys are getting in the ring a little bit yet.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are going to do a full match. But Sting looks like he actually could. And
I think he will.
And I think even Sting caught them off guard about how big a deal he is. And the thing is, which a lot of people don't know, which I learned through WCW and TNA working with Sting, is he's a huge deal in the UK and Ireland. Even in some ways, I don't know if you guys realize this, probably more so than the US. He did a lot of press tours for us over there and just captured the imagination of the wrestling fans in Europe and, like I said, primarily UK and Ireland.
It was a huge thing over here when Sting came back a couple of weeks ago.
It really was, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm not surprised, because like I traveled with him quite often with the events over there. He's a good friend. I'm happy for him, and he just knows how to get everybody's attention. He does quite well. Yeah. So now the funny thing is, I'm sitting here talking about all guys who are 50 plus, and AEW should not be mistaken for a 50 plus kind of event. Yeah. But those guys come in, and I think they give the younger guys a lot of direction. I've been impressed with. I've known the Young Bucks for about 10 years. They came to TNA with us. Yeah. Great guys. They're good. Cody's a hell of a performer. I've gotten to appreciate some of the other guys. The one guy just blows me away, but he pulls it off, is this Orange Cassidy. He came out of nowhere, from the Joey Janela world of the highly independent kind of wrestling. But like, okay, this guy has something there. I've never seen a guy become a big star who wrestles with his hands in his pockets wearing jeans. Who would have guessed? They really, in 1988, if I would describe that to somebody, they would say, "What the hell are you smoking or drinking right now?" So it's just, it's interesting. It's a good product. They're doing very well here in the U.S. and our viewership numbers are reflected internationally just as well. I think we have over 100, and I think it's about 130 to 140 different countries where fans subscribe to AEW Plus on FITE, where they get to watch the weekly show. I don't know exactly when this show is airing, but editorial note for tomorrow on Wednesday night, December 23rd, is instead of airing at 8 o'clock p.m. New York time, which would be 1 p.m. London time, which I think would be the same as Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? It's 3:30 in the morning this week, because there's an NBA game on TNT.
Okay.
So hopefully all the our UK and Ireland friends at AEW will adjust their sleep schedules. I have a feeling AEW fans don't really care about what time it is, as long as they can watch it live.
Do you find a lot of people watch it live?
Astonishingly high percentage. Yeah. So I'm trying to deduct. I don't want to insult anybody. I'm trying to deduct what everybody's personal lives are like. Yeah. Do they go to work the next morning or school the next morning with no sleep? Do they not have work or school to go to? I don't know the answer there. So I'm trying to figure out what their personal lives are like. But typically at 1 o'clock in London time, UK Ireland time, we get a pretty darn good. And as you know, in FITE, we have a live chat feature where fans can talk to each other. And there's a lot of shout outs. I'm watching from UK. I'm watching from Sydney, Australia, and so forth. It's heavily UK, Ireland viewership. So we have pretty good data on that. We do have some people in South America and Mexico who are watching it, which are on the same time zones as North America. But I've been blown away by how many Europeans are watching it live and enjoying every minute of it. So God bless them. We love them.
They're not.
What they would be if they didn't have something they like watching. And AEW delivers. I don't think they ever under-deliver in their shows. They always got something going. And as you know, Tony Khan has a great affinity to UK as well. Prior to AEW, I think he spent about half his time living in London.
Yeah, he owns Fulham football club over here.
Right. Exactly. So, it's got a special place in his heart too.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a few rumors that they might be going down the Chris Jericho versus Sting route. So that would be absolutely huge.
I've heard the same rumor. That would be pretty crazy, but two guys could pull it off as them,
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. They know how to work the crowd, get them excited. They know how to talk. I can go on all day long about their attributes of what they can do, and they can make up for what they may have done in their youth. They know how to make up for those shortcomings from that they can't do. I don't know about you. I can't do stuff that I did at 25 here at 62, but maybe they can. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Sting was disappointed, I think, with the way his last run in WWE went, and I think he's probably out just to go out on his own terms. So that's why I'd expect him to have a match, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate when things ended there with an injury. Whose fault? I don't know. It's just the nature of the business. They have injuries. So, but I think AEW will give him as much space to be the biggest star ever there. And he's just always been a real good guy to work with.
Yeah. Once you have it, you have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for FITE TV? Have you any plans for more expansion, or is there room for more expansion?
There most certainly is room for more expansion. It keeps growing. I sort of have quit giving projections out because I'm surprised myself every day now.
Yeah.
We're now hitting the numbers I was hoping when we launched. One thing we found in boxing, which is sort of interesting, we've been doing, and probably more of your viewers know who these guys are than I do, is Logan Paul and Jake Paul.
Yeah.
We've done 2 Jake Paul fights. We're negotiating for a second Logan Paul fight with Floyd Mayweather. Jake Paul was on the undercard for that Tyson fight. Oh my gosh, those guys have following, and we see that as a direction of programming. What's really cool about that, they have a strong international, global following all around the world.
They've got millions of followers, these guys.
They got both of them 20 plus million YouTube subscribers, very least. So
Jake is not very popular in Ireland at the moment.
I think that's his thing. In wrestling, I think they call it being a heel.
Yeah, it was the Conor McGregor call out video that I'm sure you've seen last week.
Yeah. He's not.
He doesn't mince his words.
No, I think he's even surprised when somebody actually likes him. So I think he does a good job. And listen, he's playing a character. The funny thing is, he grew up about 40 miles from where I live here in Ohio. He's a good old Ohio boy, good Midwest guy. He's still a kid. He's like 23 years old or something too.
Yeah.
So God bless him. He's doing good with it, and so is Logan Paul. And to their credit in the boxing thing, though, is they take it serious. They're real athletes, and they've trained themselves. Are they best boxers? No, they're not. But you don't get that overnight. But they are real athletes and take it serious and training. And I gotta give them a lot of credit for that.
I think Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor on FITE TV would be good for you guys.
I believe you're absolutely right. But one thing is we had a lot of success at a Tyson fight, and so we had, we drew from the Tyson fan base and the Roy Jones fan base, and we drew from the Jake Paul fan base, which those two fan bases are completely different. And then you add Snoop Dogg in there. Well, that's a third fan base, and that event was it's been announced that it was the 8th largest watched pay-per-view event ever.
And Snoop is appearing on AEW now soon as well.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you about a good old fight. We had Shaquille O'Neal on 2 different shows in the same week.
Yeah.
He was on bare knuckle fighting one day, and he was on AEW the other day. So I mean, I guess that's because FITE's the place to watch all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, you don't know who's going to show up.
Well, the funny thing is, Drew McIntyre, formerly known as Drew Galloway.
Yeah.
We actually used to call him Mr. Fight because he used to show up on our shows every week. Prior to him going to WWE, I became good friends with him at the time. I only lived a couple miles from him in Florida, and I can't be happier for him. I'm sure his Homeland is very happy how he's doing. He's doing quite well, become the face of WWE and stuff. But he was Mr. Fight, and we traded messages last week. We're going to get him back as a regular player in Fight some way or another. Hey, Sting came back. Maybe in 20 years we'll have Drew come back.
Drew actually worked for a lot of years over here in Ireland as well, in a promotion called Irish Whip Wrestling, and him and Sheamus were pretty much bet each other up and down this country. And I think by the way things are going over on that side, I think there's going to be a good rivalry there as well.
Yeah, they're both great athletes, good guys. I don't really know Sheamus that well, but Drew, I can't say enough good things about him. Just a good, strong, down-to-earth guy. He's got all the tools, as he likes to say. He's got the look, he's got the charisma, he's got the wrestling abilities, and he's got the passion. Those checks a lot. He checks a lot of boxes of what you're looking for in a star.
Yeah. Well, it was great to catch up with you, Michael. And thank you very much for your time.
I enjoyed every moment of it. I appreciate your time, and make sure everybody downloads the Fight app and buy our pay-per-view shows, watch our shows. We got a little bit of everything for everybody. If you don't like wrestling, got some boxing, throw some MMA in there. If you don't like that, we'll race motorcycles around on a dirt track inside a building.
Thank you very much, Michael.
No problem. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.